9. Spider bite. Henry Moffat was watching the football game at a friend's house, carrying on as normal, when he was shocked by circumstances that almost led to his last day alive. Moffat reached into a fruit bowl to grab himself a banana and felt a sharp prick on his left hand. Within seconds, his hand was numb. On closer inspection, he noticed that there was a black dot with a white ring at the bite site. At first, he didn't think much of it and thought that eventually the numbness would wear off. But by the time he headed home, he started experiencing flu-like symptoms. His flatmate, Travis, heard screams of anguish coming from Henry's locked room. After not receiving any response to several frantic knocks, Travis broke in and found Henry holding his left hand. He was pale and profusely sweating. Travis immediately took him to the hospital. On the way, Henry went into a state of hyperpyrexia, which is an extreme and steep rise in the body's temperature. At one point, his temperature was 109. After hours of medical attention and a quick surgery to clean out the wound, Moffat finally regained consciousness. It was later found that he was bitten by a female brown recluse spider, which is a close cousin to the black widow. The venom not only killed his skin, but was also shutting down all his other organs. In the end, he needed 4 different surgeries, a skin graft from his thigh, and 6 months of healing. Good thing his friend took him to the hospital when he did. If he wasn't there, Henry Moffat would surely be dead. As for the friend's place, it was thoroughly fumigated after a session of deep cleaning. Hopefully, there's no more deadly spiders lurking about. 8. Bed bugs fiasco. You've probably heard the phrase, "Good night, don't let the bed bugs bite." It's a good habit to regularly strip your bedding apart and check every layer for creepy crawlers, which is exactly what travel blogger Summer Hull does when she travels. But apparently she didn't inspect one of the hotel beds well enough. Hull was on vacation with her 2 beautiful daughters when she noticed that she had some annoyingly itchy bites around her leg. At first she assumed that she had an allergic reaction to something. The family flew back home, unpacked their bags, and washed their dirty laundry as always. A few days later, Summer realized that the bites on her legs weren't going away. She quickly researched bed bugs online and was able to connect the dots. She and her daughters had brought home a few unwanted guests from their vacation. Disgusting, biting, blood-sucking bed bugs crawled into the family's luggage. In no time, she was ready with propane-powered heaters and all kinds of devices to eradicate the bed bugs. Everything from the house had to be moved around to avoid the heat from the heaters. It was chaotic the first time around. A few of the eggs and bugs were missing, so they had to redo the whole process all over again. Their family had to keep moving between hotel rooms while the bugs were being flushed out. Hull claims she spent over $5,000 just to get rid of the bugs, which was more than she had spent on her whole trip. Talk about unpleasant things. Yuck. 7. Eye worms. You may have heard of earworms, but how about eye worms? In February 2012, a 26-year-old outdoorsy woman from Oregon felt some sort of irritant in her eyes. She brushed it off, assuming it was just hair or dust, but the irritation continued. After about a week of constantly rubbing her eyes, she pulled out a worm. Yes, the woman had a worm crawling around in her eye. She immediately went to see a local doctor. She and the doctor were both shocked when he pulled 2 more worms from her eye. The next day, she went to an optometrist who found another 3 worms. Can you imagine? None of the doctors had ever seen this before. The poor woman became the first human ever infected by a type of eye worm previously only seen in cattle. Richard Bradbury, team lead of the Parasitology Reference Diagnostic Laboratory at the CDC's Division of Parasitic Diseases and Malaria, said a total of 14 worms were removed from her left eye over 20 days. They weren't able to remove them all at once. They had to remove them as they became present and visible. They were reported to be half an inch long and would come out into the surface of the eye by themselves. Can you imagine? Lab investigations found the worm to be Thalassia gallosa, which might cause eye irritation but is apparently harmless. All the worm does is crawl under the eyelid and feast on your tears, if that's some relief. But how does the worm reach your eyes? The larvae, or eggs of the worms, are carried by fleas that tend to deposit them on any exposed body surface. Although there are other worms that can be seen in the human eye, this was the first time they found the Thalassia gallosa in the last 20 years. Judging by the woman's lifestyle, they suspect that she may have contracted it while horseback riding. Though all the worms were flushed out, this incident won't be forgotten for long. 6. Fire ant death. We have come across ants of different sizes, shapes, and colors. We probably have squished a few unknowingly and more or less have considered them to be harmless. But have you ever heard of anyone dying from an ant bite? Well, here is a case from North California. Floyd Edward passed away due to an allergic reaction that he had following a bite from fire ants. September 28, 2018 was just an ordinary day when Floyd and his brother Curtis decided to clear out the trailer of his 45-acre property. While they were clearing, Floyd complained to his brother that something was stuck in his throat. Assuming it to be dust, his brother suggested drinking some water to drown the lump into his stomach. After a few sips of water, Floyd did feel better. They went about their work, and after a long day, when they got back home, Floyd complained of the lump in his throat again. But this time he was struggling to breathe. His brother quickly made him relax on the recliner and asked him to concentrate on breathing while he rang the paramedics. When the medics arrived, he was given 2 shots of EpiPen and Benadryl to dissolve the lump, but it was all in vain. He was rushed to the hospital, but they couldn't make it in time. The medical report declared him to have had an anaphylactic shock triggered by a severe allergic reaction to fire ants. Curtis later said that considering that they work in the fields all day, there is no telling how many times he would have gotten bitten by the fire ants. 5. From tumor to worm. The very mention of a tumor can trigger a wave of emotions in anyone. But can you imagine the plight of one woman who went to the hospital to have a tumor removed, only to realize that it was a worm? New Yorker Rachel Palma had been experiencing increasing episodes of hallucinations, clumsiness, and trouble in speech. A thorough medical checkup and a brain scan revealed that there was a marble-sized tumor in her brain. While dissecting through the brain tissues during the surgery, the tumor appeared to be like a small cocoon-like firm lesion, which was ovoid in shape. As per protocol, when they collected the sample of the lesion and looked under a microscope, the tapeworm revealed itself. When the doctors broke the news to Palma, she was obviously relieved that it wasn't brain cancer, but was also taken aback by the grossness of having a worm crawling around her brain. Palma was diagnosed with neurocysticercosis, a parasitic infection of the brain which occurs if one swallows the eggs of a tapeworm, possibly from undercooked pork. It is known to cause seizures or worse, even death. The only way you can prevent a worm infection is by washing your hands prior to meals and by eating well-cooked food. How horrified would you be by discovering there were tapeworm eggs in your brain? Tell us your horrifying, creepy-crawly stories in the comments. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell. 4. Allergic to bugs. In July 2019, 77-year-old Evelyn Wooten from Virginia and her friend Karen Hutchins were enjoying a casual stroll along the Riverwalk Trail at Danville. While the two friends were soaking in the environment and sharing a few good laughs, Evelyn asked Hutchins to swat a bug off her shoulder. Karen knocked the bug off and the two continued to walk on. 10 minutes went by and suddenly Evelyn was having some difficulty breathing. Evelyn understood she required help immediately, and she asked her friend to call 911 before it was too late. She was struggling to even say a few words because she was swelling up and turning blue everywhere, including her lips and the affected arm. In no time, her face went pale and she collapsed. Unfortunately, well before the ambulance could turn up, she had lost consciousness and passed away. The doctor confirmed that it was an allergic reaction to a bug bite. Ironically, the bug that killed the poor lady is called the kissing bug, or the triatomine bug. The bug is commonly found in the holes of houses, under the porch, and creases of rock structures, among many other places. The most poisonous part of the bug is its saliva. The symptoms of these bug bites are similar to any other allergic reaction that leads to redness, itching, and hives. Next time, stay clear of these creepy little bugs. You never know which ones are deadly. 3. Victoria's Secret model. In 2016, Brazilian model Sabrina Hales St. Pierre was all set to walk the ramp for a scheduled event at the Hilton Suites in Palm Desert, California. But she had to back out at the last minute because of the most unexpected reason: bed bugs. The lawsuit that was filed in Riverside County Superior Court claims that the model had a severe reaction to a bed bug bite that caused her to have pain, discomfort, and emotional distress, which in turn compelled her to cancel her walk at the show. The model's lawyer, Brian Virang, mentioned that his client had noticed the bites briefly after checking in. With time, the bites gradually spread to cover most of her body. For a high-profile model like Sabrina, who is signed with a New York City-based agency and who has walked for big fashion brands like Versace and Victoria's Secret, her profession is driven by appearance, and to miss a show as a result of the bedbug bites did not sit well with her. She hopes to recover monetary compensation for the damages to her body and profession as a result of her lawsuit. The general manager of the hotel denied all the accusations and said that the management had relocated the model to a different room as soon as a complaint was raised, and that they tried to make her stay as comfortable as possible. He added that a third-party pest control team was called upon to inspect the two rooms that the model was in, but there was no sign of bedbug infestation found. So was the model allergic to something else? Or is the hotel trying to cover up their mess? What do you think? 2. Undetected tick bite. People are allergic to different things, and then there are people who are allergic to everything. Meet 29-year-old Summer Carroll, who is practically allergic to almost everything. Can you imagine a tiny tick bite that could lead to something as serious as Rocky Mountain spotted fever? Life was normal till Carol was bitten by a tick that sparked off a chain of reactions in her body. What started off initially as a bite led to a bacterial disease that almost looks like a typical rash. The symptoms of the disease, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, include increased body temperature, headache, and muscle aches. The rash may appear to be blackened or have crusted skin around the site of the tick bite. The disease has a notorious progression of converting into a mast cell activation syndrome. That's when patients experience anaphylaxis, or a sudden and drastic reaction to any allergy. The symptoms at this stage can range from hives, swelling, low blood pressure, difficulty in breathing, and severe diarrhea. This condition weakens the body's immunity, and today Carol is allergic to almost everything around her. Her body can experience allergic reactions to perfumes, foods, and other environmental factors. At one point, her condition was so severe that it made her feel malnourished to the point that she wasn't even able to move or hold herself up. Today, she is well aware of what type of food she can eat and what surroundings keep her safe. 1. Tick bites create bizarre disease for 2. Insect bites may seem tiny and common, but after listening to all these stories, it's hardly a surprise that they can have devastating results. Unfortunately for Katie Strotsum, a tick bite turned out to be a massive surprise for her. Katie loved to ride horses. Her routine at night was to remove the ticks on her before going to bed. She discovered that an arachnid bit her, but she just brushed it off and went on with her life. But this tick bite was like no other. The 14-year-old girl soon had a small bump that developed on the back of her neck. When she came back from a competition, she complained to her mom, a registered nurse, who ignored the swelling, assuming it to be an infected hair follicle. Finally, they went to a doctor who diagnosed it as mononucleosis and Lyme disease. They sent her home with some antibiotics, hoping to cure her in a few days. But her condition only got worse. She developed an extremely high fever and she wasn't even able to walk. They took her to the hospital again and did a biopsy, and that is when she was found to have tularemia, a rare disease. Tularemia, or rabbit fever, is caused by a bacteria called Francisella tularensis. People who come in contact with this bacteria can experience respiratory distress, life-threatening pneumonia, and other systemic infections. If left untreated, it can also cause death. A similar incident happened with 5-year-old Sammy Prorock. Her parents thought that the girl had chickenpox, but it soon turned out to be Rocky Mountain spotted fever that started off from a tick bite. So now we have enough reason to carry bug repellents wherever we go, and to make extra certain that the bug spray we use is suitable against ticks. Thanks for watching. Have you ever been bit by a creepy crawler? What happened? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye.